It's a good thing this chapter focused like entirely on information like showing between Juiz and Billy because those two are like the really weird ones in the plot right now because we know that Juiz has like knowledge and information going between the like attempts to defeat God in the different timelines because of the whole arc system that she's been using, and Billy is the one obviously betraying the main Union group. So he like already has a level of like, well, what is his overall kind of role in the story going to be? Is he going to be like the main big villain up until God, or is he just kind of like the first act God like opponent? Or I guess it'd be like closer to the second act, like the second part, if like assuming that like all the opening information and stuff prior to that, it was like what would be like the opening areas for Undead Unluck in general. But this chapter, we just get like some back and forth. We get some general lore on these characters as well as what's kind of going on. I mean, like we even find out from Juiz that the artifacts and stuff are tools and weapons left by God in order to defeat God. So like everything like that's been in the story, like information wise about the acts of their God, is that this dude clearly is setting up for like them to be able to do stuff against him, but does like it looks like just to be a game to him, because it's like, oh, you set up like this one artifact that has like all knowledge past and future, so like a cheat character, but bam, like just to compensate, it gives them the unknown power so that they don't have like a fast way of being able to beat him. Like again, it's very interesting just from that, because it makes God in the series more of like this character that will randomly intervene at some point just to screw with them. And it's not the same thing as like if you think of just like a series where you had just one big overarching villain. You had some bad guy that every once in a while it would peer over to, and he's plotting and scheming, sending out bad guys. Like you're just thinking more of like a bad guy for a season of Power Rangers or something, where it's like you're not gonna see this guy fight until the very end, and then after that, like, they defeat him, it's over. Like, this guy just seems to be, every once in a while, we're going to hear about, like, God within their world, and it's like, well, God did something just to be a jerk to everybody that's, like, involved in this game that he's playing. But when Billy and Juiz are talking, there's even some information, like, between them about why he's doing this, is that he prioritized getting the Burn Uma, so when it came down to the next set, he would be able to for sure have a counter against the Winter Uma, because he was just going to wait until the other three are destroyed and then take out this one, so it's like they can just screw them over and then claim victory, or like make it so like nobody can claim it because of the stuff with Arc and everything. It's like he's like saying how like Arc is pretty much like out of energy, and at best Arc has one more time reversal. I'm very curious as to how that's going to be, because I don't think it's going to happen. Because if there's a time reversal, are we going to have to, like, see stuff relived in the story? Or is it going to be, like, some fast-paced, like, oh, things reset, but, like, things are way different, so, like, events will play out differently? Or how exactly it's going to go? Because it'd be really cool if the series set it up to where we would have, set up to where we would have the, we would see the last failure before, essentially what is last world. Like, because they only have so many attempts, and then I assume it's over, GG. So, if they set it up to where they have to time travel, and they're the main majority of the story takes place on like the last attempt in the world, I think that would be really hype, just in general, because you know that they can't tolerate failure after that point anymore. And then just more information on stuff between Juiz and her backstory, and that at one point Victor tried to kill her to stop this loop that she had to live in of suffering. She's the only one that would go back and remember stuff and remember aspects of what's going on. So he wanted to essentially put her out of her misery. And I thought that was just a really extra level of sadness to the story, just in like between Juiz and Victor, because it's really weird that like Victor is essentially like the real Andy, because Andy is like a personality and character that was created in the process that Victor had of like messing with his brain, like clearly screw with his memories and stuff. And the original character obviously having ties to Juiz, but the original character having like this merciful kind of antagonist almost position, I think is really cool just by itself. Like Juice clearly is very determined. She believes that now they have a power, like in order to stop God with the unluck ability, and she wants to win at all costs. And now there's going to be a big fight between Juice and Billy, and that's going to be super hype because both of them are very cool. And then on top of that, like she even mentions like about his power in general. Like they're talking about like, oh, your copy ability, your ability to copy other people's powers is more useful than my injustice. But at the same time, she's like, this is like a valuable timeline that they're in and stuff, because I was talking about like Andy and Izumo and stuff. But the fact that she's clearly hyping up his powers, I can't wait to see more explanation on how his abilities work, that he's able to copy other people's abilities and like what extent it's in. Because if he can have that, like he's going to be ridiculous. And then the injustice, like how is it going to be used in fights, I think is going to be like a very large scale hype aspect for her. Because like how it's been shown already, sure, like it's understandable, like she can mess with people's mind in group fights, but what about like if it's a 1v1? Could she like just generally mess with their head? Like say if somebody's like fighting her, and it's like they're like, oh, well, I know that if I go in, like do a duck this attack, set up whatever this attack, and then go in, like I have a moment. But it's like maybe she messed with your head and she made you think that's what the best opportunity is, and she's really setting you up to kind of like screw up your footing, or she's like trying to get you in a position that she actually wants to benefit her attacks. It's very interesting just in some of the abilities and how they're going to be utilized, because like Injustice is a very weird one, and it's not as easily explainable as something like Undead or Unluck. Like there's in general has a high level of degree that they can all go to, but their level of just general usage isn't as straightforward as something like Injustice. We've only seen like the one showing of it, so it's kind of like, well, like two if you kind of want to count the moment when Billy is using it, like if he can just make somebody like try and kill themselves. But I mean, like it's got to be more than that. Like it's got to be way more advanced than just like the two moves. And I think that in a 1v1 is going to be really cool to see how it see her fight, because I'm guessing she'd be able to like do it on the Uma, like have the burn Uma try and attack Billy at some point. But we'll see. It was like, and it's weird, it's like there was a good amount of information in this chapter, but like the chapter read pretty fast. I think it was just because it was a very understandable chapter in the fact that it was giving chunks of information more towards older plot lines. And I thought that was really good. I liked that a lot. I've always enjoyed chapters like this, and it was at the same time while setting up like a really cool fight between these two characters. So we're gonna have some swordswoman against a sharpshooter. Juice has the spoil Uma, which was one of the weird things like revealed at the end. She showed up prepared, but Billy has the burn Uma, and I can't wait to just see like some of his crazy shots, because I love his cool trick shots. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about what's coming up, and tell me your thoughts about like Undead Unluck in general. I knew the series clearly. I'm very hyped to see like how this next chapter sets up and how things are gonna go. I'm really hoping though that it's not like we don't off-screen the other two Uma. Like the one that I obviously really want to see is I think it's the summer one. I can't remember if it's the summer or spring one. They're like the really weird little creepy one in the chestnut. But also the really big flower one I want to see too. I want to see both of them, but obviously I want to see more. But I don't think any of them should get off panel, but I'm hoping we at least get like peered over to those fights so we can see a little bit of them if they're not going to get focused on, you know? But anyway, other than that, unless maybe like this chapter opened, like was supposed to start on this fight, and then we're going to get the other fights and then be peer back into this one as things are going. I could deal with that too. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.